Hi, my name's Tim Deason. I've spent my career as a B2B founder, and now I help early stage founders get initial traction and raise investment. I've been an angel investor for 4 years. One really important skill for early stage angel investors to develop is the ability to screen pitch decks. Screening pitch decks is different than making an investment decision. Screening is about how do I look at lots of different pitch decks and make a quick decision about which ones I want to spend more time on. One method for doing this is something that I developed called the vehicle and the journey. The vehicle is a quick way of understanding, is there a viable company in here? Does it have all of the kind of key components that means this can operate? And the journey is all about what's the potential? What distance can this company perhaps travel on? Okay, let's take a look at the vehicle. First of all, there's the problem. What customer problem does this startup solve? Then there's the solution. Is this solution something that's really desirable to customers? Is it 10 times better than the alternative solutions that they might have? Third is sales and marketing. Is there a realistic, practical way that they can cost effectively find customers? And finally, team. Is this the right team that can really drive this vehicle to a successful journey? Do they have all the skills, experience, and knowledge that they need to operate this strategy they've described? Now, let's take a look at the journey. The business model, does it add up? Will they make money every time they sell something, or are they going to be losing money on each sale and actually the business just can't work? Next, if there's this viable kind of business model in there, does the market size support the type of fundraising they're doing? But also, will it just allow them to create a big enough business to return that investment and succeed? And finally, these kind of use of funds and these financial forecasts. So this use of funds is, where are they going to be investing the money that they've raised? Does it make sense? Is it all going into product and nothing into marketing? Well, in that case, how are they going to achieve this incredible growth perhaps that they're describing? And these financial forecasts, we've seen the kind of narrative in the deck, but do these forecasts actually reflect that? Do the numbers stack up with the story? Now let's think about how we assess a startup's team. It's important to remember that all founders were first-time founders once, so we can't necessarily just look at track record. But what we can look at is things like founder problem fit and founder solution fit. So does this founder have insight and passion for the problem space that they're working in? If they don't, there's a risk that they don't have the knowledge that they need to succeed, but also that they might not stay the course over the long journey that they're going to have to go on with this company. And from a founder solution fit perspective, do they have the skills and experience to actually build the solution that they're describing? Another thing I look for in startup decks is traction. Traction for a consumer company will typically be something like product usage, and for a business-to-business company will be something like revenue. As early stage investors, we need to accept that often there'll be very limited traction metrics. By definition, they're raising the money from us to go and build the thing that will actually allow them to demonstrate this traction. What I personally really like to see, though, that there has been some kind of hustle or some revenue or some sales or some kind of minimum viable product or something early and scrappy that demonstrates that these founders are passionate and can build something with limited resources, but they've also kind of validated this strategy. It's not just an incredible perfect deck strategy, it's a strategy that they can somehow already bring to life. Beyond decks and teams and strategies, there's a really important step in the process, which is due diligence. Due diligence is typically what we're undertaking when we've made an investment decision, but we now want to check everything stacks up and that the company is on a good footing. Due diligence is a paperwork kind of led process where we're checking that the statements and claims that the founder has made are all correct, but also that the legislation and other kind of rules that the company should have paid attention to and complied with have also been confirmed. It's really important also because later stage investors, particularly institutional investors, are going to have professionals checking all of this information. If we invest in a company that hasn't played by the rules and actually made sure they've got all of their paperwork in order, then there's a risk that they won't be able to raise investment at later rounds, which means our investment will completely be wasted and the company may not be able to continue. One term that you'll hear in relation to due diligence commonly is data rooms. Data rooms are not as exciting as they sound, but they're actually just a folder of all of these key documents that a startup needs to provide to investors. So it's all of the financial forecasts, the company incorporations, all of these kind of really important, slightly boring documents that are essential to ensure that they've been correctly managed. Something that you might kind of find in these packs is also ensuring that the intellectual property has been correctly assigned by different contributors through the company's life. So that's kind of a common area that can be overlooked but can catch people out, is have these kind of contributors, these freelancers, maybe some founders who have left, have they all properly assigned their intellectual property into the company so that it's fully owned and controlled by the company? What happens if that hasn't taken place is that you can later be subject to claims, particularly if the company is successful and valuable. What later stage investors really don't want is people kind of popping out of the woodwork and saying, actually, by the way, that's my software, that's my brand, that's my IP. So it's a good example of something that can be easy to miss, but it's really important to pay attention to during that due diligence process. This is one of kind of many areas that are hidden within due diligence, but are important to kind of understand, and something that angel syndicates can really help you with. So they'll often have lots of experienced angel investors, but also perhaps specialists in different areas. If you're making your kind of first few investments, making sure that you do those with an angel syndicate can be one way to kind of learn about what good due diligence looks like. Some green flags that I look for in a startup deck is that real sense of kind of team founder mission. So why are these people right now passionate about building this business? Building a startup is a long, hard road, and actually just that drive and willingness to continue is a super, super important factor. So a real kind of people-centric element there. But another person-centric element is also the customer. Can I empathize with the customer and understand why would they buy this solution? Why now? Is it 10 times better than their current alternative? Does the customer really kind of care about these problems? So sometimes I think it can feel like we're in this very kind of dry analytical mode when we're looking through decks, but I think we can really actually use emotional intelligence to say, do I understand why this team wants to build this business? And do I understand why this customer would buy this product? A couple of red flags that I always look for in decks is just a lack of any traction kind of whatsoever. If there's been no product built, if there's nothing ever been sold, if that's not even been attempted, then it just always makes me slightly worry that is this just an incredible strategy, but not a strategy that the team is motivated or able to kind of execute on. I think that's something that needs to be kind of lightly held. There's lots of reasons and lots of businesses that it's hard to kind of create early stage traction in, but where it's possible, I always really want to see it because it shows to me that the founders have some hustle, but they're also kind of really committed to building a business rather than just raising money or kind of creating incredible decks. Another red flag is financials that just don't add up. If there's incredibly rapid growth, but it's not shown how that's funded through investment, or the growth just looks like it will happen so quickly that you can't believe in it, it always makes me slightly worried that there's going to be assumptions that are made or kind of unrealistic predictions happening in the company that just aren't going to come true. We need to accept that the company is going to be built on assumptions. It is an early stage company, but we really want those assumptions to be realistic. So if we ask questions about forecasts or other kind of forward-looking models, we really want to be able to have a conversation with that founder and they can explain why they've kind of come up with those numbers and why they believe these things to be true. If you're getting a very kind of defensive response or it just seems like they're completely fantastical, that always just makes me worry about how realistic are their plans overall. I hope that gives you a good foundation in screening pitch decks. One thing that's really important to remember is that practice makes perfect. This is often going to feel kind of slow and clumsy when you're first doing it, and the only way to get better and quicker is to do a lot of it. So if you have that opportunity to screen lots of pitch decks or to find ways to kind of keep evaluating them, I really recommend that you do it. If you prefer not to do that kind of on your own or you want to learn from other people, then angel syndicates are a really, really great place where people are going to be sharing their judgment, their opinions, their perspectives and their methods. So it's a great way that you can kind of get up to speed more quickly.